Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, we're going to be learning fingerpicking etude number 11. So the idea behind this etude was to write a tune that helps you develop precision in your right hand attack. So some of the concepts that we're going to be discussing and working on for incorporating in our playing in this tune are going to be using the palm of our hand to mute the strings that we don't want to hear, but allow the other strings to ring clear. So this is a really helpful concept, especially if you play through an amplifier, because when you play through an amp, then everything that you're not muting has this hum to it, and it bleeds out into the playing. So that's the first concept we're going to be talking about, and it looks a little bit like this. If I use the palm of my hand right here and I play this little intro, I'm just going to mute the fourth string and let everything else ring out. So we'll talk about that when we jump into the lesson. Another concept we're going to be working on is getting a nice even volume when we're playing strummed chords and percussive muted hits. So stuff like this. So we want a nice even volume as we're playing throughout this. We don't want the chord to ring too loud, and we definitely don't want the percussive hits to overshadow the chord. So those are just two concepts we're going to talk about. We'll talk about a few others as we go through the lesson. And speaking of this lesson, we're actually going to learn the entire song. So this song is split into two parts. I have theme 1 and theme 2. Both themes are 8 bars in length. Most of these concepts are going to be put into theme 2. So theme 1 is actually pretty straightforward and pretty easy, so we're going to breeze through that. But all these concepts are really going to be heavily saturated in theme number 2. So I think this is going to be one of those breakthrough lessons to kind of get you over that hurdle and kind of get you into feeling a little bit more confident with the right hand attack. So with that said, if you want to get the tabs to follow along with, those are going to be available for premium members at rockclass101.com. So you can click this link right here, or you can go to the site and do a search for fingerpicking etude number 11. Now there's also going to be an on-screen tab viewer on that page. This is a really cool feature where you can hit play. You can watch the tab scroll across in real time. You can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed. Just a really great asset in learning a little bit more challenging tune like this, especially theme 2. So that again is going to be at rockclass101.com. So you just click that little card link. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this lesson. So we're in the key of A. It's only 3 chords in this tune. That's why I called it a 3-chord jam. And those 3 chords are 1, 4, 5. So if we're in the key of A, that means A is our 1 chord, B, C, D. D is our 4 chord, E is our 5 chord. Okay? So we have A, D, and E that we're going to play through, and everything is a triad, so everything is a major triad. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to play the first part. It's got a little pickup bar, so I'll play the first part, this pickup going into the first 2 bars, then we'll break it down and learn it. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, so there's the first couple bars plus the pickup. So the first thing that we want to notice is our pickup is going to be starting on the E of 3. So we're subdividing 16th notes for this first hit. So if you're new to counting rhythms and understanding rhythmic notation, then you want to check out this lesson real quick before you move forward, because we're going to be counting out all these rhythms. So our first hit, we're going to be resting on beat 3. So we have a pickup that goes 1, 2, 3, E, and 4, end. So we're hitting on the E of 3, and then the end of 3, and then we have 8th notes to finish it, 4, end. So if you look above, I'll put the notation right there. So you have 1, 2, 3, E, and 4, end. So that's our rhythm that we want to get stuck in our head. So we have 1, 2, 3, E, and 4, end. So you can hear that E is a quick hit, but we can actually let it ring out. It's only going to be the first string open, so it's actually an easy hit. So it'll be the first string open. Now, speaking of right hand finger picking, we should talk about that before we jump in. I'm using a 3-finger approach for almost everything in this tune. So that means that our thumb gets string 4 and 3, index finger would get string 2, and then middle finger would get string 1. So I like to use a 3-finger approach for pretty much everything. There's like a bar or two that we'll talk about that has a different approach. But we'll get there when we get there. So again, we want to keep in mind that this first hit is quick. Ba-dum. So your next hit is the first fret of string 3. You can use the index finger. And then the next hit just walks chromatically up. So you have, and chromatic, if that's a new term for you, means that we're moving by a series of half steps. So chromatic could go up like we're doing, but it could also go down, so in reverse. So you have open A, first fret of string 3, chromatic up to the 2nd fret, and then you can use that middle finger again, move it up to the 3rd fret. That's your pickup. So remember you have 3 E and 4 end. So the first one is a quick, but we can hold it, we can just let it sustain. Sounds really nice if it sustains. So if I count out that pickup, I have 1, 2, 3 E and 4 end. So you can hear everything is an 8th note except for that first hit, 3 E and 4 end. Okay, so let's see if we can give that a shot together. We have 1, 2, 3 E and 4 end. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3 E and 4 end. And slower, 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 end. Okay? So from here, we're getting into the dreaded E chord. This is the chord that I see pop up so many times in the Facebook groups that I'm part of for ukulele, where people seem to really have a hard time with the E chord. So let's talk about that E chord. Now, the thing that I think is very challenging for people is that they're trying to make the full shape, where you have 3 fingers, and then the 4th finger right there. Now here's the thing that I always think of and I suggest to people. This note right here is the exact same note as this note. They're both a B note. So the 4th string and the 1st string is both a B note. And they're at the same pitch. They're what's called in intervals a unison. So they're identical. So why do we have to work so hard to duplicate the exact same note? So if you're ever working on an E in another tune, a suggestion is just to get rid of the 4th string because you've already got that note right there. So you can play from the 3rd string down. So to finger this chord the way that we're playing it in this tune and how you can approach it in other songs, use that middle finger for the 4th fret of string 3, ring finger underneath it, that's the 4th fret of string 2, and index on the 2nd fret of string 1. So in essence, you're ignoring string 4. So you could strum down, but this lesson's all about using the right hand to help us and to aid us. So we're going to start by talking about using the palm of our right hand right there. It's just going to touch the 4th string right, you can see where the bridge is. We're just going to rest it right there. And in essence, what it's going to do is it's going to mute that string. So we don't want to hear it. And as I said in the intro, when you play through an amplifier, if you don't mute the open strings, then they have this bit of a hum, especially if you're loud, if you're playing to a bigger audience. You know, if you're playing in a little small room, not as bad, but if you're playing to quite a big audience, like in an open mic or something, that stuff is going to bleed through a little bit. So you want to try and mute the strings that you're not playing. So touching it with that palm of your hand is a great approach. Okay? So give that a shot, and you can just go through it real quick, kind of like what I'm doing. I'm just gonna pick through like 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2. But you're just getting used to using that part to touch the string lightly, as if it was a mute. Okay, so here's what this first bar sounds like, and then we'll break it down, and we're gonna be going from the E chord to the D chord. And the D chord's the same concept. We're cutting out string 4. So this bar is all 8th notes. I've got. Okay, so let's break that down. We're starting on E. We have 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So you can hear E last for the first half of the bar. Okay? And one other thing I want to point out too is that your proper form for the left hand is vital for these chords. These chords are a little tricky, so if you're new to forming these, then check out this lesson on proper left hand form. It's going to talk all about this U-shaped gap that you need to make sure that you are forming the chord correctly so it rings out. Alright, so we're just going to pick down and up. We've got third, second, first, second. That's the first half of that bar. So we have 1 and 2 and. If I call it strings, 3, 2, 1, 2. Now the second half of the bar, you're going to lift that index finger up and literally scoot these down a whole step so they go to the second fret. And you're doing the same pattern, 3, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so pretty easy switch. So let's see if we can try that entire bar. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome. Now let's take a look at the next bar. It goes to an A. So most of us know the A chord shape, right? But the difference again is we're ignoring string 4 for this first part. So we can get rid of that and we can leave the index on the first fret, string 3. The rest are open. So again, we're going to start with the same pattern. So the first half is 3, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Now after that, we're going to do a cool little walk up. So something like we did before. So this time around, for the second half, we're starting on the third string, then the open A, and then start chromatic up. You have second, third, all on the third string. So you have 1, 0, 2, 3. Okay? So if I take a look at the first half again, it's the same pattern, 3, 2, 1, 2. The second half we have 3, 1, chromatic. Okay, so all eighth notes, right? So let's give that a shot. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome. One more time. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Very good. Now let's see if we can go back and let's try bars 1 and 2 together, and then we'll try it with the pickup. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome. Remember, you can practice with that palm muting the fourth string throughout this as well. So let's go back, let's do the pickup with it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Nice. Now when we get to this third bar, we have basically the same thing as the first bar. The only difference is on beat 2 and 4, we're adding a 16th note hit. So we're doubling that one note to create a 16th note. So it sounds like this. 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and. So you have ba ba ba. Really cool, right? So you're back to the E chord. So you start the same, 3, 2, but when you get to this is beat 2, right? You have 2 plucks. So, ba-ba. So for that, I would use 2 fingers. Now, my 3-finger approach, as you probably noticed, I'm not sticking to what I recommended. Most people will use these 3 fingers. I like to use these 3 fingers instead. It's mainly because I have a bit of a nerve issue in my index finger. But when you get to that part, you want to alternate. You don't want to do the same finger to pluck twice. So if you're using this approach, you want to go thumb, index, 2, 1. So it's a quicker hit. So it mimics like what a bass player does. Okay, so keep that in mind when you get there. So again, I have 3, 2, 1, 1, 2. So that rhythm is 1 and 2 E and. Okay, and the same thing's going to happen when you drop down to D. 3 and 4 E and. So you're double plucking beat 4. So double pluck beat 2, double pluck beat 4. So let's try that entire bar. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and. Okay, let's go slower. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and... Okay, now we're back to A. The first half is the same as bar 2. We have 1 and 2 and, so straight up and back. So we've got 3, 2, 1, 2. Okay, after that, we're going to do a cool little chromatic, but we're using octaves this time. So before we talked about a unison, where it was the exact same pitch, an octave is the same note. This is the same note. An octave is also the same note, but one is lower, one is higher, but they're the same note. So with this one, we have cool little octave walk up. So we keep that index finger anchored on that first fret for this A. So we're gonna play that third string, then we're gonna add our pinky to 4 on string 1. We're gonna play that note, and then we're going to play, or we're moving our hand up a half step. So you see from 1 to 4, we move up a half step. We're gonna play 2, 5, pluck together, and then move that up another half step, play 3, 6, pluck together. So you have 1, 4, pluck, pluck, but you can see we move chromatically up. It's all eighth notes. That's all we've played so far, except for those little 16th hits in the previous bar. So you have, for this fourth bar, you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it sounds really cool, right? Let me play it again by myself. Okay, if we try together, super slow, we have 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, now let's see if we can backtrack. Let's try bars 3 to 4. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, now let's see if we can go through 1 through 4 plus the pickup. 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. Now this next part, we're going to jump into some new voicings for this E, the D, and the A chord. So this one, a little bit trickier, but not too hard. We're doing a partial bar. So again, if you're new to some of these proper left-hand forms, especially for making partial bars and full bar chords, partial bar just means that we're not covering all 4 strings. We cover either 3 or 2 strings at a time. Then check out that link that I had earlier. Just click that card, or I'll put it in the description box below for the lesson on proper left-hand form. Now, this first chord, let's go ahead and learn to make it, and then I'll demo what this bar sounds like. So you're going to lay flat on the 4th fret, strings 1, 2, and 3 with the index. Again, we're going to ignore string 4, and then we can use the pinky for the 7th fret of string 1. Okay, so you work on that shape, and I'm going to go ahead and play this bar for you, and you can hear what it sounds like. And again, it's the same concept. E goes down a whole step to D. Okay, so straight eighth notes, right? So let's keep that E intact. We're going to strum 3 to 1. Then we're going to pick down 3, 2, 1, and then we're literally moving down a whole step. And this time around, we're going to pluck 1 and 2 together. And then just go ahead and do the same movement down. 3, 2, 1. So we've got strum, 3, 2, 1, pluck, 3, 2, 1. Okay, eighth notes. Let's give it a shot slower. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome. Then let's take a look at the next bar. I'll play it and then we'll learn it. Okay, so that's what it sounds like. So this one, we're doing that same octave that we did previously where it was 1 and 4, but this time around we want to make sure that we curve this index finger up. So you can also think of it like this. Think of it as that A without the 4th string. Add that pinky back to the 4th fret of string 1, but keep the index finger nice and curved so the E rings open. Okay, so for this one, we're going to pluck 1 and 2 together. Then we're going to walk straight down. We have 3, 2, 1. So we've got pluck, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now the second half is a little bit harder because on the 4th beat, we're doing a 16th note. So here's what the second half sounds like. If I count it out, I have 3 and 4 E and. Okay, so it's going to go 3, 2, and then take that ring finger, put it on the 2nd fret of string 1. You're going to do a quick pull off to the open A, and then you're going to play open E after. So this pull off is your 16th, so you have 4 E and. Okay, so pull off, string 2. So the second half again, 3, 2, pull off 2. Okay, so let's see if we can try this entire bar. Remember the first part was pluck, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, pull off, open E. Here we go. Slow. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and pull off E. Okay, let's backtrack. Let's try 5 and 6. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and pull off. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the last part. So bar 7 is identical to bar 1. So we already know that, just walking from E to D. Okay, then the last bar for this first theme one is, so we have 1 and 2, and you can see we're forming the full A. So the last bar is going to be 3, 2, strum the entire A. So add that middle finger up top. So if we try bar 7 and 8, guys, we've got 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4. So you can hear that A is going to last for 3 beats. So beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. So let's backtrack. Let's try 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then we'll try 1 through 8 with the pickup. So here we go. 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we start on the higher E. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and pull off E. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So a tricky part you may want to practice is that going from that 6th bar to the 7th bar. So you can see when I'm pulling off, the first thing I do is I go straight to adding the middle finger, then the ring, and then the index. So I don't have to go like jump quickly to form that E, right? I'm adding 1 as I need it. So there's the trick with that part. All right, now let's try 1 through 8 with the pickup. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3, E and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 E and 3 E 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. 2 and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Okay, so that should give us everything for the entire theme number 1. So let's go ahead and look at theme 2. Theme 2 is going to have a lot more of those concepts that we talked about as well. So before we jump into theme 2, I know that I did cut off on 2. Make sure you hold that out for that entire 3 beats, right? So 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1. So you want to make sure you sustain that out for the entire length of the rest of that bar. So theme 2, again, we have an 8-bar form. So here's what the first part sounds like, and then we're going to be breaking down and talking about these right hand concepts. This one we're going to be talking about getting a nice even volume as we're playing the strum and incorporating the muted hits. So those muted hits, they're going to be little flicks. So we're going to be talking about that in a second. They're not something like chucking, you know. A lot of lessons are on chucking. We're not doing any of that kind of stuff except for one minor little hit. We're doing one little minor kind of chuck. But the most of the stuff is going to be percussive muted hits. So here's what the first bar sounds like, and then we'll break it down. Okay, so as you see, we're now into our third iteration, or third voicing of a higher E chord. So this one is going to be flat on the 7th fret, strings 1 and 2, your middle finger on the 8th fret of string 3. Again, we're ignoring string number 4. Okay, and when we move down a whole step, again, we're keeping the same shape intact and it becomes a D. So keep that in mind too, just moving down a whole step. So go ahead and form the E chord, and what we're going to do is we're going to strum from 3 down. We're going to use the nail of our index finger. It gives us a brighter, harsher tone than the thumb would. So we want to accent this part. So theme 2 kind of kicks it up a little bit more dynamics, a little bit more oomph in it than theme 1's more steady. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind, kind of separate the two parts. So strum down with the nail. We're going to hit the 3rd string with the thumb. So we have 8th notes, 1 and. Then we're going to follow up and pluck strings 1 and 2. Okay, so we have 1 and 2. And now here's where we get into using the muted strum percussive hits. So the first thing that you want to do, after we've got through the first 3 hits, we had strum, 3, pluck. After you get through that, you want to lift the pressure up. So remember, when you don't push down, if you push down, you get a bad sound. But if you barely touch the strings, you get that nice muted sound. So when I'm forming this chord, I want to lift pressure up, but still touch the strings. But I'm touching them to mute them, and then I can add the percussive effect. This percussive effect is a flick. I'm going to use the nail of my middle finger to flick the 1st string. Just hit it going down, so you can just try that. And then I'm going to use the nail of my thumb to come up. So I'm going down, up, down, up. So this is a 16th note hit. We had 1 and 2 and So we had 1 and 2 and Okay? So there's a lot happening here. So we have strum, 3, pluck. After I pluck, I lift that pressure up, touch the strings lightly to mute them. Then I'm going to use the flick, nail of the middle finger down on the 1st string, nail of the thumb up on the 1st string. 16th note, quick, ba-ba. Strum, 3, pluck, ba-ba. Okay? Strum, 3, pluck. Lift pressure up, make it so it's touching, and it creates that nice ba-ba mute sound. Okay, so again I have strum, 3, pluck, da, da. Let's try it together. 3 and 4 and strum, 3, pluck, ba. Okay, let's count out the rhythm. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and da. Okay, so hit pause on this video if you need to keep working on that a little bit. But if you're good, the cool thing that happens here is that you're doing the same stuff, same movement, everything identical, but you literally shift down a whole step. So from E, we're now to D. So we're on 6 and double 5. So let's see if we can give this a shot. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Okay, again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Okay, so with our right hand too, we want to make sure that we target from the 3rd string down. So it's very important that you're not hitting that 4th string, because if you do, you can hear how awful it sounds. So you want to make sure that when you're strumming, you really are paying a lot of attention that your strum goes from the 3rd string down. So you don't want to hit the 4th string. Right, and you can see when I'm muting too, if I strum too hard for that mute or I miss the 1st string, I can use that ring finger to come up to help mute the 4th string, so everything is muted. Strum, 3, pluck, ba ba. Strum, 3, pluck, ba ba. Okay? So let's see if we can try that full bar. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Awesome. Now here's what bar 2 sounds like. Bar 2 is probably the hardest bar in this song. So you have da 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 ch 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 da 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 da. So it's good to get this one down. If you can sing it, you can play it. So here's what's happening. Let me tap out and count out this rhythm. Let's take the first half. So it's 1 and 2 and So it's the same rhythm that we had, but the second half starts with the 16th note. So 3E end, 4E end. So that's the second half. So if I tap it out, the full bar, I have 1 and 2 and 3E end, 4E end. So a little tricky and complicated with the rhythm, but let's break it in half. Let's try the first half right now. So make a G chord. If you make the regular G chord, move it up a whole step, you got 4, 5, 4. So again, we're going to ignore string 4, but this is an A chord. So we're going to strum 3 down, strum 3, pluck. So it's the same thing we've already done. Strum 3, pluck. Okay? Now from here is where it gets a little bit tricky. We're going to be adding our pinky to the 5th fret to create an accent on that 5th fret of string 1. But before we get there, we have one little muted hit. So check it out. Okay? So you notice that we're doing the same pattern we did before. Strum, 3, pluck, down, and then when I come up, I have to add the pinky to that 5th fret of string 1. So the first down, we're lifting this up to get that mute, right? So we're barely touching the strings, lightly touch the strings to get the mute. Strum, 3, pluck, lift up, down for a mute, put your pinky back down, you can push the whole chord down, and hit the 5th fret of string 1. So you have strum, 3, pluck, down, up. Okay, so mute 5. Strum, 3, pluck, mute 5. Okay, 1 and 2 and Okay, so let's see if we can try that together. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and So mute 5. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and Okay, here's where it gets tricky. Beat 3, we're coming down with a slap. Okay, so we're gonna do like this regular kind of chucking thing, but it's really quick. Come down with a slap. And if you're new to chucking, check out this lesson. So for this one, we're coming down with that claw shape. And if you're new to that claw shape, make sure you check out that lesson. So we come down with that claw shape. This is beat 3. Remember, this is 16th, so we have 3E end. 3E end. So we have 3. And then for E, we have the pinky lifted up. So we actually remove the pinky. We're going to play string 1, followed by string 3. So you can see that only the regular A chord's intact. So it's like that slap 1, 3, but it's quick. 3E end, 3E end, slap 1, 3, slap 1, 3. Okay, so you just want to hit pause on this video and just practice slap 1, 3, slap 1, 3. It's really important that you keep that claw because check it out, when you keep that claw, you're in position to finger pick. So I see a lot of people come down with like a chuck or a slap where they open their hand like that, but if you do that, then you have to, it takes way too much time to get into finger picking mode. So come down with that claw shape and then continue finger picking. So slap 1, 3. So 3E end. Okay, after that, you have 4E end. So you have a quick pull off. So you're gonna go back to adding that pinky to 5 on string 1, pull off to 4, 4E, and then you pick string 2. And that'll finish it up. 4E end. So you have 3E end, 4E end for the second half. 3E end, 4E end. Slap 1, 3, pull off 2. That's that rhythm. Okay, so if we try slow, 1 and and 2 and slap 1, 3, pull off 2. Okay, again. 1 and 2 and slap 1, 3, pull off 2. Okay, if we try that full bar, tricky stuff. Let me play it once by myself. I have 3 and 4 and strum 3, pluck, da da, ba dum, ba da dum. If I don't sing it out, I have. Let's try together. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Even slower. 3 and 4 and strum 3, pluck, down, up, slap 1, 3, pull off 2. So it's hard to say all of that and keep it in time. So let's see if we can just practice a few times without talking. We just get that stuck in our head, those rhythms. 3 and 4 and strum 3, pluck. Okay, again. 3 and 4 and. Okay, so that's one that you want to loop. And that's where that on-screen tab viewer comes in handy, because this bar is really tricky and you can loop that bar, slow it down to any speed. You can cut it in half like we learned it, and you can take it at your own pace to get it down. Super, super useful asset. Helps so much with tricky bars like this. All right, let's try bars 1 and 2 of theme 2. This I think was pretty much the hardest bar in theme 2. So you've tackled the hardest one, so it's a little bit easier as we move forward. So here we go. 3 and 4 and. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the third bar. So this one's actually really cool. So we're doing the same stuff. We're going from this higher voicing of E, dropping down a whole step to D. So same chord shapes, nothing new happens here, but we're doing a cool little hammer-on pull-off lick. So quick stuff, but really neat sounding. Sounds like this. Okay, so same concept when I'm doing this, like we talked about in theme 1, we can always use that palm of our right hand to touch the 4th string to help mute it as we're playing this one. These hits can be a little bit lighter than the first one, so you can kick off bar 1 and 2, playing a little harder with our attack. Maybe this 3rd and 4th bar you can lighten up a little bit. Right, and we can do more finger picking. Okay, so let's break that down. So we start the same. We have strum 3. Then here we have a hammer-on pull-off. So we're going to we're going to pick string 1. So it's the 7th fret. Do a hammer-on pull-off to the 9th fret. So 7, 9, 7. Now all of this is a quick hit that happens on beat 2. So it's subdividing that first half of 2 into 3 notes. Okay, then you're going to end it on the 9th fret of string 2. So you have 1 and 2 end. So you can hear that you have ba-da-da all on the first half of beat 2, and then you're ending on that 9th fret of string 2 on the end of 2. So you have 1 and 2 end. Okay, so I have strum 3, hammer on pull off to 9 on string 2. 1 and 2 end. Okay, let's try together. Slow. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 end. Awesome. Now we're going to move down a whole step. We're going to pluck 1 and 2, then hit string 3. So there's 3 and. Then we've got the same thing. So this time we're going 5, 7, 5, hammer on pull off, and then end on 7 on string 2. So again, you have 4 end for your rhythm. So 3 and 4 end. Okay, let's try that second half together. 1 and 2 and pluck 3, ba-da-da-bum. Okay, the entire bar. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome. Now let's take a look at the 4th bar. Here's what it sounds like. So you can hear this one has a lot of that palm muting, using that palm of the hand to mute the fourth string. So we want to keep that one nice and quiet as we're working through it. And this is one of those bars where I said we'd kind of break that 3-finger picking approach. We're going to use 2 fingers. I like to use the thumb and the middle finger. And doing so helps me to use more of that palm to mute. So instead of only muting the 4th string, you can see as this lick starts on the 1st string and the 2nd string, you can watch this part of my palm touch string 4 and 3 to help get it even cleaner. And this is a really big deal when you play through an amplifier. It's not a big deal if you're playing acoustically, because it doesn't matter if things ring out. But when you play through an amp, you're playing for like a bigger crowd and the volume is cranked. These techniques and these tips come super duper in handy. Okay, so I'm muting 4 and 3 with the palm. So we'll get to that in a second. Let's learn the first half of it before we learn the second half. So back to that A, it's the same as a G moved up a whole. So we're going to pluck strings 1 and 2, hit string 3, and then we can do a little accent hit if we want, where we're just flicking down. So we can hit that 1st and 2nd string. Right, gives us a little bit more oomph. And I'm using, again, we talked about using the nail of the middle finger to hit down. You can also use the nail of the middle and the nail of the ring to hit down if you want, or the nail of the index and the nail of the middle. It's up to you. If you use these 3 fingers for 3-finger approach, you can do that. So we have pluck, 3, strum, 2 down. So just a quick little flick. Then we're following that up with 2 muted 16th note hits. That's the first half of the bar. 1 and 2 and okay? Watch what happens as I get to end 1 and 2 and You can see I shifted up so that my middle finger is literally in position to begin this pull-off lick. 1 and 2 and So you can see I shift up, and then my middle finger's on 5th fret, index finger's on the 4th fret to jump into. Okay? So you just want to practice that one. Let's give it a shot. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and Okay? So our pull-off lick, let's learn that real quick, and then we'll talk about the right hand helping us. So it's going to be 5 to 4 on string 1. So I'm going to use a 2-finger approach for this, right? I'm using middle and thumb. So I got 5 to 4, middle, then my thumb's going to play this 5th fret of string 2, and then middle plays the 4th fret of string 1. So there's the first half. So I have pull off, 5 on 2, 4 again on string 1. So 5, 4, 5, 4. Okay, using 2 fingers. 1st string, 2nd string. Pull off, 5, 4. Okay, from here, I can just move up, and then now I'm going to use the middle for the 2nd string, thumb for the 3rd string. So the second half is going to start the same. You have 5 to 4, but it's on string 2. Okay, then add the ring to 6 on string 3, and then play the open E. That finishes it. So you have 5, 4, 6, open E. Okay, 5, 4, 6, open E. So the first half you had string 1 and 2, 5, 4, 5, 4. So again, pull off, 5, 4, and shift this hand up. You're going to do the same, but on string 2, 5, 4, 6, open E. 5, 4, 6, open E. Okay, so 2 fingers starting on there, and then they move up just like that. 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 6, oh. Okay, now this palm of your hand is going to touch the strings 4 and 3, muting them. Then as it moves up, you only have to mute string 4. Okay, so you have, now this rhythm is all 16th notes, you want to keep it even. 3E and 4E and Okay, so let's try it slow. 1 and 2E and 3E and 4E and Okay, now let's try that full bar. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3E and 4E and Okay, so pretty tricky in that one. but I still don't think it's as hard as the second bar. But that one was a little tricky. All right, let's backtrack. Let's try 3 and 4 and then 1 through 4. Here we go. 3 and 4. So we've got 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3E and 4E and All right, so now let's try 1 through 4. Here we go. 3 and 4 and Now from here it gets a little tricky because when you finish 6-0, you're back into that E. So back into the first stuff that we did in theme 1. So you want to practice that transition. So I would take just that last half, 4E enda, and go right into this first E chord. Now this E chord to the D and to the A, it's almost the same as the basic one that we learned for bar 1. The only difference is you're going to be adding a little a little strum on beat 2 and 4. It sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So I'm strumming to hit strings 2 and 1, kind of like what we talked about in the last bar. And one thing that I'm doing to help me too is I'm kind of just anchoring my palm of my hand on that 4th string. That way I'm not getting a super hard strum like a normal strum. I just want a slightly raised volume strum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So if I anchor it on that 4th string, then I can hit it lighter. It gives me a little bit more control over my right hand attack. So I don't have to go super hard. I don't want to hit it like... Right? I don't want it to be so loud. I want it to fit more into the vibe of being mellow, because the first 4 bars of theme 2 we had more energy. You know, these last parts were kind of, or these next 2 bars we kind of diet down a little bit, and then the last 2 bars we have a little bit more energy. So it's kind of cool. It's like dynamics. It's if we really think about it, the first 2 bars was more a lot of energy, right? Then the bars 3 and 4 were a little bit more mellow, you know. And then these bar 5 and 6, we can kind of keep up with that kind of like mellower tone, but you can hear at the end of bar 6, we're going to this cool little slide thing. So, I mean, there's like sections of it that you can put more emphasis in. That's the thing. And music's always up to the interpreter. Like, you don't have to play it identical to how I played it. If you want to accent a certain part, go ahead and do it. You know, if you don't, you want to keep it all the same volume, go ahead and do it. It sounds cool any way that you think is best. So going back to the on topic right here, when I'm playing through this, think of it as bar 1 of theme 1. Right, so E to D, but we're just going to add this little strum onto 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you can see how I'm basically staying really in position, anchoring on that 4th string, so I have a lighter strum. So I just want to have a tiny little accent on beat 2 and 4. So you've got 3, 2, strum, 2, 3, 2, strum, 2. So just light. Let's give it a shot. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay, again, I'm just using the nail of that middle finger, and I'm actually using the nail of the ring finger too. So I'm using 2 fingers to strum down. If you're doing a 3-finger approach, then you probably want to use nail of index, nail of middle, just light. Those nails give it a brighter, a little bit of a harsher tone than if you were to use the flesh of a finger, like the flesh of the thumb. Let's look at the 6 bar. Sounds like this. The first half is like theme 1. We have 3, 2, 1, 2. But the second half is really cool. So it sounds like this. Okay, so it sounds like that. Yeah, ba da 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 da. You have 3E and a 4E and. So 3E and a 4E and. Okay, but there's some tricks to this one. There's actually a lot going on, so let's break it down. So you see, first off, it's that octave that we tackled earlier. It's 1 and 4, string 3 and 1. So you're going to pluck this, and you're going to slide up a whole step. And This time around, you can see that I'm not on a fingertip. I don't want the E string to ring out at all. So I'm using the index finger to touch lightly the E string so it mutes it. Okay, so the E string is muted. When I get up to here, I can do 2 quick flicks like we talked about earlier on the first string, right? But that E string is muted in case I hit it. So you can hear I'm purposely hitting E right now, but you can only hear that A string ring out. Okay, so it's really important that when you start up here, when you pluck 3 and 1, you already have that E string muted, and you're sliding up to 4 and 7. So actually the first thing you probably want to practice is just that slide. It's hard to move a shape up and keep those fingers intact, that spacing. I see a lot of people when they slide stuff like this, fingers start to go in wrong frets. So if this is brand new concept for you, what I would suggest to do is to actually take 1 fret at a time and just practice like that, going up and down, just keeping that shape intact. You don't want those fingers to go into the wrong frets. You want them to stay in the correct frets. Hey guys, so I'm editing and it looks like I didn't talk too much about how to do this mute with the index finger, how to mute the 2nd string. So if you make that A chord without the 4th string, so just the 1st fret of string 3, we have an open E under it and an open A under that, then all you want to do is, instead of being on a fingertip, start to curve this finger down a little bit until it touches string 2. And you can hear it mutes it. So if I'm on a fingertip, right, I'm just going to move this finger down a little bit until it touches string 2. It's going to touch right there. So this part of the finger. Right, so you can see there's the string indentation, and this part is what touches string 2. So again, on a fingertip, just curve it downwards until it touches string 2, and that's going to mute it. And then add your pinky to 4 on string 1. That way, if we hit 3 down, we hear string 3, nothing for string 2, it's muted, and then we hear string 1. The same concept applies when you slide up. We do this, we keep the same position intact, so we hear string 3, we don't hear string 2, and we hear string 1. So that's the trick with it. So if you're new to that, just practice that a little bit to get it down, but hopefully that helps clarify it. Okay, after you get good at that and you get comfortable with that, then you can try this slide. So you pluck once, slide 1 and 4 to 4 and 7. Just go slow like that. Keep pressure down the whole time you're sliding. Start slow like that. When you get up to there, you can add the 2 little muted, or 2 not muted, 2 quick little hits on the 7th fret. Just like that. So you have slide up, sev, sev. But keep in mind, this should be all even the rhythm. 3, E, and So slide, sev, sev, slide, sev, sev, slide, sev, sev. Okay, so you just want to hit pause, practice that one, because the next one is tricky too. So the second half is going to go up a whole step and then back down a whole step. So you're on 4 sev, that's where we left off. 4 sev goes to 6 9, and then back to 4 sev. So you can pluck this one up, down, right? This one is 4 E end. So you have 16th followed by hanging on the last one for an 8th. So 4 E end. Okay, if I put that second half together, I have 3 E and 4 E end. So it sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 E end. Okay, you can hear that for 4. I chose to do a little strum instead of a pluck, 4 E, and it's up to you if you want to do a pluck. I think though, when you're playing it at a quicker tempo, and this isn't a super fast song, at a medium paced tempo, I think it's easier just to do a little strum. So you can strum down from 3 down, or you can just hit the first string. And if you're pushing down hard enough, you'll still hear that ringing out in the background, kind of like a in the background kind of note. So something to keep in mind. So again, you have 3 E and 4 E and. So you're only picking once for the last part. Ba-dum, up and down. Let's try it together. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Now let's see if we can do the full bar. So 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and So now let's see if we can speed it up a bit. We have 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and here we go. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and awesome. So yeah, that one is pretty hard as well. I do have to admit, that one, bar 2 and this bar, those are probably the trickiest in this tune. So let's see if we can try 5 and 6 together, and then we'll try and tackle 7 and 8, and then we'll wrap up with this theme too. So here we go, 5 and 6. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and okay. Now let's see if we can go 7 and 8. So here's what it sounds like, then we'll break it down, and we're at that second variation of the chords. Okay, so here's what it sounds like. Alright, let's break that down. So again, we're laying flat on 4, add the pinky to 7, so we've got strum, 3, pluck, ba, ba. So 1 and 2 and okay, then it's basically the same thing when we go down to D. Strum, 3, pluck, ba, ba. So let's try that entire bar. Here we go. 3 and 4 and strum, 3, pluck, ba, ba. Strum, 3, pluck, ba, ba. Cool. You could also pluck the third beat of D if you want. That kind of flows on how we learned other sections. Oh, up to you on that part. Let's try it again though. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and okay. Now this last bar is a bit different. So we breeze through the 7th bar because it's the same flow as before. Last bar is a bit different. Sounds like this. It's got a little rest at the end for the end of 4. So here's what this bar's broken down is. The first half is pretty straightforward. It's 1 and 2 and okay, so make that A. We can actually make the full A if we want. We can keep this intact. So we have plucking 1 and 2, then we're gonna hit string 3, and then pluck 1 and 2 again, and then we can do a double hit on the A. So 1 and 2 and so 16th note hit 1 and 2 and Now we're gonna do a slap like we did in that tricky bar 2 here, because this rhythm's the same, where it's 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4, and then end is rest. So it's that same rhythm that we saw for bar 2 that was tricky, where you had those 16th notes in a row. So you want to keep that in mind. If you got that rhythm down for earlier, you can do it for this bar as well. 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4. Okay, so we have 1 and 2 and okay, we covered that. Now, just like in bar 2, you have a slap for 3, keep that claw shape intact. Then you have a quick 1 3. So just like before, slap 1 3. Okay, and then after that for beat 4, you have strumming the A, and then you're muting. So check out this second half. 3 E and 4 mute. So 3 E and 4 mute. So slap 1 3, strum, mute, or cut it. Okay? So let's break that one down again. So we have slap 1 3, strum, stop. 3 E and 4 bop. Okay, so that strum of the A is only going to be for a 8th note. So if I put that whole bar together, I have 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 bum. Okay, see if you can get it stuck in your head. Okay, let's try together. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4. Again, 3 and 4 and pluck, 3, pluck, ba ba, slap, 1, 3, strum, boom. So tricky at the end. I think it's a bit easier than the second bar though. Even though the rhythm is pretty similar, we don't have as much work going on in the left hand. All right, so let's try 7 and 8 together. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, E and 4, stop. Okay, so that last hit, you just want to mute it. You can use the left hand to mute it or the right hand to touch the strings. Either one works, or both hands. Let's backtrack 5, 6, 7, and 8, then 1 through 8 for theme 2, and then we'll talk about where this little coda sign goes and how this thing ends, but there's nothing new to learn. We've learned everything. So here we go, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3, E and 4, stop. Okay, now everything for theme 2. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 4 and 1 and 2 and 4. Okay, and that's what we get for everything going through it. So it's a lot in theme 2, and it's a lot of excellent practice for precision, increasing our precision of our attacks, cleaning up our playing, making it sound nice and crystal clear, especially if you play through an amplifier. This lesson was great for that, but there's so much things that you can pull away from learning how to mute the other things you don't want to hear and how to get a nice even sound in our playing, especially when we incorporate more complex percussive hits alongside rhythmic strums, alongside complex techniques like hammer-on pull-offs. Just a lot of great stuff in theme 2. Now, once you get done with theme 2, you're doing a DSL coda, so you're jumping back to the sign, you're playing till it says the coda, and then you jump to the coda sign. So you're going back to theme 1, so that literally back to bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, and then for bar 4, you're jumping to the coda, which is the same ending as bar 8, which is 3, 2, strum. So it's on that A chord, right? 3rd, 2nd, strum. And that's it. So those are the last 4 bars of the tune, and then you're done with it. And that gives you guys, in essence, you have 16 bars of music. So not a lot of bars, but a lot of music to tackle in this one. It's pretty amazing. It's only 3 chords. You know, you can pull so much out of 3 chords, 3 major chords. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Remember, the tabs and the on-screen tab viewer, that interactive tab player, are available for premium members at rockclass101.com, so you can check out the full lesson here with all those assets. Or you can go to the site and do a search for Fingerpicking Etude number 11. You can find it that way as well. And I hope you enjoyed this lesson. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Take care.